everybody. We're
Whoa.
back from break with more Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Matastai's alive. Yay!
You are.
Congratulations. I will reiterate, like I did at the beginning of the session, that death means different things for everyone, and different people want death to have different penalties, different consequences, different ideas, different concepts. Death is going to be a variable form for anyone in a TTRPG, so hopefully things end up satisfying for all the people involved here, and yeah, that's it. We'll move forward from there. So, Matashtai, you're alive. You have 1 HP. You no longer have the benefits of any of your Halaster abilities, and none of your artifact gear, none of the abilities of that artifact gear that rely on a quarry spirit function. So some of your artifact abilities work just fine, right? But the ones specifically that do something in conjunction with your quarry spirit do not. So for example, I think right now you have the magic bound, right, where you can catch spells, for example, right? You cannot catch spells because that's Valena catching spells. However, you do still get the bonus of your wisdom added to your catching modifier. I can't remember the name of the fucking skill. So it's that type of scenario. Some of the parts and pieces will function, some of them will not. So if you have a question, please let me know. And then the other downside of Raise Dead, Matashtai, as you sit up and you begin to talk to your allies, you feel pretty fucking exhausted. And you have, I believe it is a -4 to...
Excellent.
You
So
make a
I'm in
-4
form.
penalty to all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. Every time you finish a long rest, the penalty is reduced by 1.
Cool.
So for
Welcome to Raise Dead.
the next 4 nights, or I guess 3 nights, 3 days, you have a -1. On that 4th night, you will get rid of it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Does Zalara go back to just a +2 now?
Oh, yes. Zalara returns to normal. The blessing of Elistrai fades. The momentous occasion done with. Your assault on House Avrindar finished. Look at them puppers.
He knows he's being looked at now.
Yeah, I was gonna immediately stop.
As soon as I tried to record them.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, I'm on camera. Gotta be cool. Be cool. Be cool.
I did hear for a
Yeah,
second
they sit there and they chomp at each other.
Absolutely.
It looks vicious, but like all Arthur does is slobber on her.
And she loves him for it.
Yep.
Yeah, well, like I'll go to pet her and literally it feels like she was just out of a bath, and I'm like, ugh.
Yep.
Gross.
Odie cleans himself very sloppily and loudly too. So he sounds like
Whatever. Now
when
they're
he's
going under
cleaning
the
himself.
desk to get away.
But if I have to pay attention, because if I don't, I'll like pet him afterwards and I'll just get like wet, slobbery fur.
It's got like getting tarred and feathered.
Yeah. So, it is the morning of the 30th. Your party is restored, but is it really? Valena is missing, no longer here within the material realm, bound to Matashtai as one. He has, expressed his desire to venture forth into the region of dreams known as Dalcor and recover her, rescue her, anoint, rebind himself to her. But the question becomes how and when. So
But
the
also,
game is
why?
the game is yours. What do you guys want to do?
All right. So I don't know how long it's going to take to. All right. So like, as far as what we were planning on doing, had intentions of calling in all our favors to amass a force that would be able to take on House Avrendar, right? That's going to take a while.
Well, yeah, we gotta get the ball rolling.
Right.
Which
So
is where
I was
you're
thinking,
since
I was
all
thinking
Matthew has to
we
rest.
could maybe start that process, and while everybody is like, it's gonna be a lot of work because like we're gonna have to have like a lot of people come down here, right?
Maybe not. How many people we really need? Not that many.
I don't know. I mean, we've got like if we wanted to, like we have friends.
For clarity, the way in which the Frethians have described the Avrendar forces, there are hundreds of troops for House Avrendar. Dozens of commanders. You guys have fought several, but you've always fought them in isolation, generally speaking. This last encounter that you had was with 2 initially, and you fared very well until you didn't fare very well, and then 2 more got involved and things went downhill really fast.
Real fast.
So
right.
it becomes another kind of like statement of this is bordering on the concept of not what adventurers are meant to do. This is getting close to the scenario of this is what factions and armies do.
Right, but like, so I feel like if next time we're topside, if I were to go to like Vadra, I can be like, hey, there's a roadblock. Can you grant me some gray hands to
Jesus, what the frick?
what?
That's cray.
I feel like that's not too big an ask, right? She's kind of the person that's like, fucking just get it done, like, right?
I don't know.
I mean, like, if that's not necessary, that's fine. But I was going, if we go up top, that was what I had in mind.
All right, that's what you have in mind. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna stop you. I think you should do what you feel is correct.
I'm just talking out loud, so we can try to make some plans. Like, we could also maybe talk to Black Tongues. They'd probably help.
I don't feel right bringing them into this.
And we don't have to. Again, just throwing things at the wall. There's always the man, the myth, the legend, Mandius, the Griffin Rider.
I mean, this may or may not be right, but I'm of the opinion that surface politics and mountain politics, they don't mix.
Maybe not. Like he could probably handle it on his own, the entire thing.
Oh, almost certainly.
All right,
Yeah.
I was half paying attention there. What are we discussing?
Ashes is
Options.
positing various groups and individuals that you guys could potentially ask for assistance in the battle against House Avrendar. And his idea is that this thing that you need to do, right, is probably going to take a little bit of time. But gathering your allies and them getting ready is going to take a little bit of time. So you could get the ball rolling on inform your allies, hey, we're going to do this thing, can we count you in? Then start letting them get prepared, and then while that's happening, take care of your business. Does that sum that up, Jay? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
I'm not like
spot on, right there, bullseye. Also, Legion probably be down to clown.
I definitely don't disagree with that.
Well, the Legion needs to be appraised of the situation now. Now they are a priority.
Oh, remember,
We have pushed back telling them that shit is hitting the fan for the last day. We're already... And Bones, you have made this abundantly clear, your importance to make sure they know of what's going on. That clock is ticking before we lose our membership fully for neglecting them.
Oh, well, remember they said that
I
they
think
need to
you're
be informed on anything that threatens a Legion, and we are Legion.
I'll inform them. It's fine.
So, okay. If we review our allies in the mountain, right? We've got the Gabos, we've got the Bullywugs, and we've got the Legion. So we should at least inform the three of them about what's going on. So it sounds like we're taking a trip towards topside, so we might as well do an information trip, go topside, and then I don't know how many people are going to get interested in coming down into the mountain.
Right, yeah, that's going to be a process.
I think the answer is 0, more than likely.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
I don't think we have allies topside that...
And that's fine. That's fine if we want to just...
We can... Like, there's definitely, like, things we can ask. Like, Ashes has Grey Hand contacts. He can say, hey, do you have a adventuring party that wants to fuck with some drow? Or maybe Laryl's got a contingent of soldiers she could send down with us. Maybe the Harpers have got, some spies they could send down to help us get information beforehand. Like, there's definitely stuff we can ask about. I just don't have a super high expectation that it's going to be a lot.
Okay. Well, and if that's the case, it might not be worth our time to pursue. Like,
it doesn't hurt to ask.
If you're already going to be up, is it worth a trip on its own? Maybe not, but if you're already going to be up there,
do we have another reason to go topside?
Yes.
Well, Matt needs to rest for 4 days.
Yeah, so it's twofold. So obviously we need to move towards topside to talk with all of our groups. And Legion's on what, 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, they're pretty close to topside. We might as well go topside while we're up that high. Okay. So we go topside. We spend a couple of days resting so that I'm not useless. Because I'm already nerfed on top of exhaustion. Nerfed. So
not only have you lost your subclass, or your sub race. You've lost your race. Let's be clear here. You lost your race abilities.
I am a human without the benefits of human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
You have lost your race, and you have a -4 to everything.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fine. So yeah, I figured we would head topside anyway. So, like, it seemed to me that we did enough damage
while we're
that
topside,
it's going to take them some time to deal with shit.
Yeah, and then while we're topside, we can probably do a little bit of research into finding a good way to group dream. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's called
obviously individuals travel to Dalquar pretty often when they dream, right? But it's how do we all get there as a group to move as a unit towards finding Valena? So that will take some looking,
some thinking.
Would you even know how to find her if we get there?
I have ideas.
I
went into Matt as you asked that. Yes, I have ideas.
I was okay with it. I'm all for the RP, homie.
All right, so
I mean,
we're gonna back 6 and make our way up.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
But to your question, Ezra, I've got 2 theories about where she might be. So the quarry spirits that inhabit Kalashtar are originated from, I'm bad at numbers, it's like 60 some quarry who splintered off from the main quarry race because they didn't like what was going on. They didn't like the evil shit that the quarry were doing when they invaded Ezrah.
And this is invaders from the Dream Realm.
Yes, so the quarry came from Dalquar. They created a sort of rift to Eberron and attacked. And trying to remember, it's something like a bunch of giants and humans and a bunch of other people eventually beat them back and sealed them away back in Dalquar. But the quarry still found a way after centuries to kind of influence Eberron again. They started to infect the minds of the Riedran Empire and started to kind of sneak quarry spirits through the realm and inhabit some of those higher echelon members of the Empire. Then began the kind of conquest of Adar by the Riedran Empire, and the Splinter Quarry split off and helped the people of Adar, which is how the Kalashtar came to be. They were humans of Adar who fused with quarry spirits.
So there were evil spirits that were taking over leadership, and the good spirits came to save the day.
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
So, the very first, the person who really kind of started the rebellion against the evil quarry, her name was Taratai. She was the first quarry to leave, and everyone else followed her.
The first rebel?
Yes. And again, I'm not the most studious, but I recall there being...
Your master is rolling in his grave over this history lesson.
Oh no!
Liu Soon is just fucking knew he was cheating off of Darren the entire time. Knew it!
But I remember discussions of some sort of sacred site or like a sacred grove to Taratai in Dalquar. It's kept hidden from the general quarry populace because obviously most of them hate her.
Roll me a history check, Matashtai.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm real good at those.
Oh,
-4 as well.
-4?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a total -5. Okay.
Good gracious.
So he's just rolling a good unit. It's actually not that bad.
Okay.
-4 is 9.
Yeah. Like,
We've seen worse rolls.
Yeah,
almost.
absolutely.
I mean, feel
That was
free,
almost double digits.
feel free to continue.
So, in my mind, it seems like a pretty reasonable place for her to maybe return to if she were critically wounded and needing to kind of fix herself up, right?
All right, well.
So
I
that's
guess
that's one thought I have. The other I have is that she's been captured. She was sent back and captured, at which point it becomes a little bit more complicated trying to break her out of whatever evil quarry prison they got. I don't know how that works. Probably is terrible if I had to assume. But those are my two thoughts.
All right, well, I guess let's go up top and have conversations along the way. And
Well, I
Try and
think
figure
it
out
might be a
how
good
to-
idea, since we're here, right? Let's go ahead and see if we can't narrow down a day for this to go down, because if we go up there asking for help and they're like, where and when, we'll have the where, but we won't have the when. So we need to have that information ready to go.
I don't know, like a week. How long did it take people to get down here?
All right, so What is the next month? What is after Hammer? It is.
Should we maybe ask the Freth people when they think they might be ready for another large encounter?
It's Alter.
I mean, since like
Alterite?
technically they're the majority of the forces.
Cool idea there's Bones.
So you're talking like Alterite the 10th?
Well, let's ask them and see when they think they might be ready, and then we'll make some decisions. We got a lot of moving pieces here.
You do have a lot of moving pieces.
But I really do think like we need to get down the like at least the most basic of information when we're talking, at least talking to the Legion.
One thing to keep in mind, though, too, is if we do travel to Dalquar, time works differently there.
How differently? Which are we going to go slower or faster? Like how about are we fucking up our home time?
Time is slower on the material realm.
More to the point, time is significantly faster in the
spooky.
dream realm than it is in real life.
That sounds perfect. That's exactly like
every
Inception. We like
10 minutes, it's wibbly wobbly, but in theory, every 10 minutes
so
in
like
the dream realm is like a minute. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's also less squeaky.
It's much less.
I heard scrabbling a second ago.
Yeah, they brought a toy in, and now she's losing her damn mind back there. And Arthur's like, I'm out.
Those fucking ears.
You put the camera down, and he's like, "Nah, I gotta bounce."
Yeah, he really
can't
is
catch me
not
on
liking
camera.
the camera.
Nothing incriminating.
He's like, I
proof.
didn't sign no waivers. Fuck off.
That's true. Very true.
How Lucy is, that black dog. If you point a camera at her, I feel like she feels like it's stealing her soul. She'll walk off. She'll stop barking and she'll leave immediately.
All right, so you guys you spend.
Right, well, so how long has it been since all this whole Resident Matthew shenanigery?
15 minutes since he woke up. So it's probably about 9:15 right now. You were awoken in the morning, you broke your fast. Erolul's ritual took about an hour. 10-15 minutes has passed since she and Driven left. Matastai's awoken, told you all this, you talked about things for a little bit. And yeah, now we're here.
Alright, well I really would like to go talk to her, but I need her to have more than 15 minutes to chill. So
okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, you're free to just sit here and talk amongst yourselves for however long
we can
you
short
want.
rest. I'll burn a bunch of hit dice and get more than 1 HP.
Yeah, you guys you absolutely could short
yeah.
rest. 100%.
Blam.
Okay, so we're gonna short rest, and then afterwards I need to go and talk to
That's a few.
Erolul.
Okay, sure.
I'm gonna go ahead of everybody because I got some other stuff, some non-party stuff to talk about.
Oh, okay. So you guys are kind of like resting up. You realize that Matashtai is pretty drained from the healing. He spends some time. You guys are discussing things, and that you're gonna need to leave eventually. But before you do that, you're gonna want to talk to the Brethians and kind of like arrange things and discuss kind of like what your plans of action are and kind of like get an idea of what's going on with them. Bones, you leave a little bit ahead of time because you've got some other business to attend to. As you leave, as you are leaving and you go over to the audience chamber, there's a guard there and you have to wait for a few minutes, and two individuals end up walking out of the audience chamber, individuals that you have never seen before. One is a kind of like pale like purplish skinned woman with these rows of very stark bound hair and then otherwise bald in between. She has very sharp features and looks almost kind of like overly animated. She's very lithe and has a kind of like a familiar vibe to her, or a familiar kind of like stance as you kind of like look at her and appraise her. She moves kind of like you do, right? In a similar kind of vibe. And she just looks at you very kind of like dourly and then moves past. And then there is another individual that follows behind her, and this one is almost awe-inspiring when you see them. There is a glow about this person, an almost radiant glow about this person. Very high cheekbones, high imperious features, long pointed ears, and this kind of like these resplendent golden vestments. And just this kind of like radiating light coming off of this sun elf, who looks at you and just has this very kind face and nods at you, smiles, looks past and sees the dour woman walking down the hallway and sighs and kind of like hurries to catch up behind. And neither of them speak to you or say anything to you, and none of the guards that are standing there make any sort of motions towards them or any indication towards you in regards to them. But immediately afterwards, the chamber is open, and the guards there just kind of like look at you and nod in kind of like an assent of allowing you entry into the audience chamber with Errolol.
All right, I'll walk on in.
Okay.
Hey guys.
There are some people here. These people are not here. These people are not here. This person is not here, and this person is not here. You see two attendants at the doors or near the doors, and then you see Driven Freth, Errolol's brother, standing in his usual spot, drinking something from a silver goblet, and Errolol, as pregnant as can be, sitting upon her divan, plucking away at a harp. And you can see immediately as you walk in, you see this kind of like mostly masked look of distaste on her face. Like she did not enjoy the experience she just went through.
Hey, who are they?
Errolol kind of like looks at you and she sighs and she says, "Good
I
morning."
like that second one.
Those are both emissaries from Shadow Dusk Hold. Potential allies our fight. So right now they have been mostly interested in gossip and the concept of trade.
Neat. I like trade. You should introduce me later. Once we take care of all this business.
Driven kind of coughs into his glass as you say that.
Look, I'm a business cat, all right? Anyway, so hey, the rest of everybody's gonna be here, eventually to, talk. I had a quick question for you guys. On both of you, really. I guess we maybe possibly know. The last couple times I've gone through the portals, I've been touched by the shadow, and I keep coming out feeling like I'm missing something, but I can't figure out what.
Both of them have concerned looks on their faces. They both look at each other. Roll me an insight check.
Insight check at normal.
That's a 17. Not bad. but not quite good enough to really discern anything that's passing between these two very close siblings, right? Like you know that there's something there, right? Like they're exchanging some sort of look or communication or something like that, right? But you have no real indication of over what it might be. Before there can be any other sort of like reaction or anything like that, Erelal looks over at you and she says, "I am not entirely certain, but my brother could perhaps attempt to identify whether or not there is any issue with you, or perhaps I could perform an augury in an attempt to glean some sort of information."
I mean, yeah, I'm very interested in that.
Driven kind of sets down his silver goblet, steps over towards you. If I may.
Yes, I allow it.
He puts his left hand on your chest. He puts his right hand up to your left temple. And you see his eyes close and they flicker open. And they're blood red.
I haven't been around it too much, but that's concerning.
You hear him kind of like murmuring under his breath in a very disturbing tone and language. And then he steps away from you. I need you to roll me a d20. We want to roll high.
I did not.
This is basically a luck chance. 7. Gotcha. Driven looks at you and he says, "There's something there or not there? I'm not sure. There's some lingering essence, like you've been touched by something, but I don't know what it might be. I mean, I don't know any particulars, is what I mean to say." Again, roll me an insight check.
Okay. Where did my character sheet go? That's super fun. Hold on. Maybe I closed it?
How dare you? Another 17.
That's my minimum roll.
Nice. He seems, like you and your allies have been doing this for a while now. You're certain that Driven Freth and Erelal Freth maybe have suspicions, right? And maybe they're keeping those suspicions close to their chest for whatever reason. But you're not really able to pinpoint like any tells or why that might be the case or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be malevolent. Like they don't seem to be keeping something from you intentionally, like in a hostile manner or anything like that. But it's almost like they don't want to potentially cause alarm by guessing wrong at something, right? So they're kind of just trying to find more information. But Driven steps away from you and is just like, we may need to look into things, ask around, and perhaps see if we can figure out more of what this might be. He kind of shrugs. You're not, like, you don't feel any different. There's no pain. You're not prevented from doing anything like that or anything, right?
Not as far as I can tell. It just feels like I've lost something.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely keep it in mind. We try to avoid sending our people through the portals when we can. But we'll have quietly, we'll have the question kind of like passed around and see if anyone has had a similar feeling or something like that, and see if we can maybe pinpoint a situation and investigate more in that direction.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. I appreciate that.
He nods to you, walks back over, picks up his goblet. Errolal looks at you and she says, "Is there something else that you needed? Or are you just waiting for your friends now?"
Oh, no, I'm just waiting for them.
Okay.
Hey, Bones, what's up?
Oh, hey guys, great
Oh,
timing.
man.
Shit.
Yeah, I was wondering where you
He snuck out on you. All right, yeah, sure. I mean, the group filters in, right? Everyone comes in, including Wolf, who is still with you all. Right?
Whoa.
There is a little bit of a reaction from the guards, both in the hallway and in Erilal's audience chamber, as they see this fucking dire wolf kind of loping through their hallways, right?
He's nuts.
You know?
He's cool. He's cool.
But they also didn't really balk at the fucking Zorn just gliding through their hallways previously either, so they seem fine with things.
I wish they would balk at Nazi.
On edge, but okay with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a little surprised initially. They're just like, "Wait, what? Oh, okay, fine,
Yep.
I guess."
Fucking adventurers,
Right?
I swear.
Fucking adventurers.
So yeah, the party is gathered in Erilal's audience chamber. Driven Freth is here. Erilal Freth is here. They have their attendants. What do you guys? They're open ears. What do you guys want to approach them about? What do you want to talk about?
All right, hey
All
guys, we're gonna head up to the surface here for a little bit, but and recruit or let our other allies know what's going on down here. Whenabouts do you think you'd be ready for a full-scale assault on the Alvendars?
They're nodding along with you as you kind of like are talking about what you're planning to do, and then you ask that question, and they both kind of like pause and look at each other, and then look back at all of you. And
I'll just be honest with you, they've been offending me since day one, and then they attacked my home, so I'm gonna kill all of them.
Driven kind of like walks over into a more central location, almost like he's about to give a presentation. he's like in a more official tone. All of a sudden he stands straighter, his back is straight, his posture is better. He's left the silver goblet on the chamber, and he says, just for clarity, we are currently in no position to launch a full-scale assault on the territories of House Avrendar. The problem lies in the battlefield and the space between our two territories. Well, one of the problems. First and foremost, we can't move major forces out of our territory because any major force we send up has to go through the Zezana's territory. And they're not exactly friendly. So, and he kind of looks over at Erilal, and there's this shared look. They need to be dealt with one way or another. And you see, again, they're kind of like sharing this exchange, like an argument. And once they are dealt with, then we can move freely. But only insofar as then we could take the bulk of our forces upwards into the Warren. The Warren, in and of itself, is the second problem. It's a hellscape. It's filled with violent trolls and random tribes of troglodytes that refuse to treat with us. Half of them are slaves to House Ovrindar at this point. The other half we fight for, and then they turn and kill us. So just moving a large force through that territory is going to be a problem because it's going to be harried from all sides. And then there's Mapemi, the ruin serpent, or rune serpent.
Well, another serpent. I like the sound of that. Tell me about this one.
It's a monstrosity that lives in the Warrens.
I'm a monstrosity. We're checking boxes.
His playground. I've never seen the thing myself, but we've had plenty of reports on it. It seems to be a Behir. Are you familiar with those?
Zachary is not. Would Bones
They're-
be familiar with those?
They're massive serpentine creatures that were arcanely engineered in ages past to fight against dragons.
Oh.
Well.
This one has strange devices upon it. Runes carved into its scaly hide. It's seemingly near invincible, and any force that we send into the Warrens is inevitably harried by it. At this point, we've resorted to just holding a few places within the Warrens themselves, just so that we don't lose our foothold. But the longer we do that, the more time Ovrindar has to take full control of the Warrens. That comes with resources, that comes with room for their troops, that comes with the ability to enslave he would have a word for them. What's the word that he would use? Because he wouldn't just call them troglodytes, he would call them un momento. Sorry, I cannot hold all of the information in my brain.
No one's expecting you.
He would call them the Nahastu. That's what they're known as. But the Warren is a battleground currently, and it's a battle we can't win. Even if we were to bring our forces to bear against the Zezana, or even if we were to be able to remove the Zezana as a impediment and be able to launch full-scale attacks into the Warren, then Mapemi is a problem, the Trolls are a problem, the Nahastu are a problem, and House Ovrindar just has more forces and more of a foothold there to begin with. The only alternative is sending all of our forces through portals, which is not plausible, and we've had issues in the past with losing entire squadrons. People coming out dead or mad.
Makes sense. Alright, so
Part of what
the war is on pause then, huh?
Part of what we had hoped with your arrival wasn't just the rescue of Girzana. It was an outside force to help influence these factors. We have ideas of what perhaps we could do to remove some of these roadblocks. And again, you see Erelal and Driven kind of like look at each other, and there's clear that there's a disagreement there on like what the correct avenue is, right? And then he looks, but regardless of those options, right? It's far more prudent at this point for an outside force to assist in those scenarios. For example, we would love to free the enslaved Nahastu and, if not win them over to our side as allies, just impress upon them that we have no interest in their lands. We have no interest in them. But they see us only for dark-skinned elves, and they kill us on sight. But you are different. Mapemi is something that we cannot deal with marshaled forces. We could muster a party of our own, but it would leave Spiderwatch Hold undefended. Erelal and I, Rilna, Zaron, perhaps we could all go hunting the creature, but while we were gone, this place would be significantly less defended.
Yeah.
All right, so it seems we jumped the gun on war a little quick.
Yeah, maybe. Though we skipped a few steps, and that's fine.
In regards to when could we fight House Ovrindar, we could muster our forces and fight them tomorrow, the day after. But getting there is an entirely different issue. Getting there with any of our forces left alive is an entirely different issue. Could we force march our way through the maze and through the Zazana? Yes, we could. But how much will we lose on the way?
It's too costly.
How much will we... This is part of the issue in both sides. In Ovrindar attacking us and us attacking Ovrindar. This place, Undermountain, is rife with things that want to kill everything else.
I think the most important question, though, assuming we feel comfortable assisting in clearing these blockades, these impediments, doing so, does that open up Ovrindar from jumping the gun, from beating us to the punch, so to speak? Because I assume every blockade of these that we clear up for House Freth also clears it up for them.
You're not incorrect. It's just a matter of information. If we know you're doing it and they don't, well, then maybe we have the day or two ahead of them finding out, of figuring out to pull the trigger on what we want to do, right?
So
and we could always try other scenarios where we perhaps harry some of their outer peripheries in the meantime to keep them distracted.
That's fair. So in theory, if our intent is to, again, we need to take a moment and rally our forces, and
they both kind of nod as if that's perfectly
that's
reasonable.
That's not unsurprising. But when we come back, if the intent is when we come back, then we say, all right, we think it will take us 2 days or 3 days or whatever to potentially deal with these impediments, and that's the timeline we give our additional reinforcements, that would still give us the advantage. I think that's more the question.
Driven nods and he says, I believe entirely so. Especially depending on what steps we take to remove the impediments in front of us. If we... And Erelal kind of sighs, right? And Driven just says it. He says, if we are able to win the Zazana over to our side, win the Nahastu over to our side, then regardless of whether or not we do so with a time and knowledge advantage over House Ovrindar, even without those, we still gain an an ally advantage against
A
them.
notable.
Right? And if we don't, he says, kind of like appeasing Erlal, if we are unable to, or it's just not a plausible situation, I still do think that removing those roadblocks, but us doing it when we realize we're going to do it and know we're going to do it, we can be prepared ahead of time, and as soon as it's done, we go. Erlal speaks up at this point, and she says, also bear in mind that, as we spoke previously, originally, I am quite skilled at communicating with others over long distances. So if there needs to be particular moments where I send information to your allies on X amount of days before things happen, that is a relatively easy thing for me to accomplish.
That is good to know. I think. I wonder though. You talk about these factions and the weight that they could potentially have in this battle. What is the bargaining chip? You say you do not want their you say you do not want their land, so is the intent that Avrandar is overthrown and they gain whatever split it is between them for that level, or
Driven and Erlal both look at you, both look at each other, both look back at you, both look back at each other, and there's like 30 years worth of arguments built up right here. And Driven looks at you and he says, there's a lot of different factors in the situation right now. I think we might be getting into the weeds if we try to go too far into the details. There are certain things with the Zezana that perhaps we could try other than just eradicating them, which in and of itself would be a difficulty. There are certain things that we could perhaps try with the Nahastu other than eradicating them, which in and of itself would be a difficulty. But a lot of those things are dependent on other factors. They're interwoven or perhaps linked with other potential concepts or issues.
And their reaction to any sort of conversation.
Exactly, right? Which means
I just want to make sure those thoughts are being had.
Those thoughts are absolutely here.
To...
As a peoples, we have no interest in the lands of the Zezana. We have no interest in the war in itself, excepting for both, excepting the Maze we have no interest in, the Warrens we have no interest in, except we do have interest here. This is our home, and we do have interest in the Temple of Obsidia. It is where we originally intended on living. We would prefer at the end of this to be able to travel between the two and live within the two, and amicably between the two locations, yes. And if that is something that is possible while being pleasantly allied with these other factions, great. If it's possible to do it while not having association with these other factions, they leave us alone, we leave them alone, great. If it's not possible without bloodshed, then we'll do what we have to.
I think that's just... I'm glad to hear there are conversations being had, because if we are attempting to break bread, so to speak, then...
Absolutely. But I do think we might be getting ahead of ourselves. You already have matters that you need to attend to. I do think, and this is Driven speaking, you going on whatever mission or journey that you need, because he's kind of like looking at you, he's kind of like sussing you out, right? Whatever mission or journey it is that you need to attend to, communicating with your allies about what might be coming is a very prudent idea. Because maybe they need time, maybe they have ideas to offer into the mix, maybe they have impediments with that you'll need to remove as well, right? Or that they might need assistance, and perhaps we could even provide that assistance. We have knowledge and we have skill in various different matters. Perhaps there are multiple things across multiple different peoples that can be done to facilitate the greater whole of defeating House Avrundar.
Now, when it comes to communication, you mentioned we're well aware you and I'm looking at Errol specifically.
Yeah.
Have the ability to communicate at great distance telepathically. As we start forging alliances and potentially having allies assisting us, and I'm looking at Bones probably primarily at this point.
What? That's me. I'm here.
Perhaps it is important for us to communicate with those parties that we're allied to, that there might be someone reaching out through such means, and maybe there is a
absolutely.
code word to denote that this is a co-signed by us communication coming through.
Hey, don't run screaming. We're allies. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a
It'd be
perfect
fun
concept.
if it was like a surprise, though.
Driven snickers at you.
Okay. That's just good.
Okay. I think it is
I agree with you, though.
I think it is at that point. Driven and Errol have been kind of like looking at all of you for a while now, and very specifically looking at Matashtai, who just got up. He's back. Never mind. Errol looks over at you, and she says, "I cannot sense your friend." Scrabble, scrabble, scrabble.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys. Hold on one second.
You're good. We'll just write in that Errol has
Okay, sorry.
two puppers, and they're
They've been
over in the
locked out for a
corner
second.
just fighting. You know?
So I can feel her, but it's very faint.
Kind of like cocks her head at you, and she says, "And what will you do?"
Same thing we do with all our friends. Rescue them.
She kind of laughs, like in a endearing way, right? And she just says, "That's sounded very clueless, but very heartfelt."
That's
Do you have any idea?
That's our motto.
That's me.
Do you have any idea how?
We need, well, I think we need to go to Dalcor, the region of dreaming. Region of dreams.
She kind of like thinks for a moment. She looks over at Driven, and Driven's kind of like nodding and kind of has this contemplative look on his face, and he says, "Dalcor, you're from Eberron."
I am.
It will be difficult to get to Dalcor, to the region of dreams, as you put it. Each realm space has its own region of dreams, so to speak. When you dream here on Toril, you don't do so in the same place that you might do so in Eberron. The only way you're going to find your way to Dalcor is either by traveling to Eberron, which seems somewhat difficult and time-consuming, or if you seek out the aid of a dream specialist.
Leonardo
Know
DiCaprio.
any of those?
Driven kind of shrugs and he says, I know none personally. I know night hags are said to be renowned for their capabilities with dreaming. And I know that the lady in dreams, Sehanin Moonbow, her acolytes tend to have a few that are specialized within the realm of dreaming. She is, after all, the Lady of Dreams.
You said Satani?
Sehanin Moonbow. Yeah.
Oh, why is that familiar?
That's
We heard that name
that's a
before,
very
right?
breathy name.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the moon goddess that fucking Jay
Yep.
is attuning to?
No.
That's Salune.
That's Salune.
That's Salune. Yep. Okay.
Sehanin is the
different.
moon
Yep.
is the moon hunt dream goddess that Kethra was dealing with.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, I know that's familiar.
Absolutely. It
That's
all
totally like
comes back.
a
But
Tolkien
Zach
book.
becomes a dwarf again.
Yeah, I'm a dwarf.
Jay ends up getting fucked by gods again. Mitch ends up back with Sehanin. Now all I need is Jake to turn into a dragon and we're good.
I thought you were about to say turn into a pile of dust.
Yeah, I was just gonna say get disintegrated.
Where's the Nestle Crunch?
Yeah.
Uh,
Karma's a bitch.
So yeah, I mean, driven, you know, kind of like, as far as that's really all I know on the subject itself. I dabbled or researched a little bit in dreaming in my early hundreds, but I'm sorry, I don't really have much else to go on. I'm sure there are other avenues that you could take. I just am not familiar with them, perhaps. A shaman or something like that,
Sure.
maybe?
Well, we know a hag.
We know a sea hag.
Oh, that's true.
we know.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think we know a night hag too.
What
We do?
was her name? Grima or
The one that hates
Grima?
you.
I thought she was a sea hag.
No, she's not a sea hag.
What you're talking about the vice principal?
I'm talking about the vice principal. Yes, she is not a sea hag.
Oh.
Worm
Wait, so she's a
riddle.
cousin? Wormriddle's a cousin of
Wormriddle's a
sea
night
hag?
hag.
And that
Yeah.
makes her a night hag?
Yes.
All
cousin.
hags are cousins.
Oh, weird.
every single one.
I mean, no,
Well,
actually,
I'll be
like,
honest with you, I don't
legitimately,
see
like,
that one
all
working out,
hags are
but maybe-
cousins.
Well, I mean the tree
Probably
goes back
super
far
honest,
enough,
I
right?
prefer to exhaust other resources before going to a night hag.
Come on!
But-
What are you talking about? It's a teacher. You can always trust a
You
teacher.
can, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
She's only got your best interests at heart.
Look for the helpers.
Or is it the best
Well-
interests of your heart?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Oh, did
we'll
not
see what
like
else we can
that.
figure out.
oh.
All right, then. Well, so I guess we'll head up top and I don't know. I guess be back to work on some of these problems.
Right.
We have
Yeah.
plenty going on. Obviously, we would rather attend to things sooner rather than later, and we, no offense, what you have done for us and what you have done in such a short amount of time, we have every reason to trust you and throw our lot in with you.
We want the same ultimate goal.
But you could get yourselves killed in the next 2 days, and we could never hear from you again.
Well,
Would not be
so-
a terrible bet.
While we are excited about your return and hopeful for what that might mean, we will continue to work and exist and try what we can to facilitate our people without you. And upon your return, should that happen, we will be very happy to engage in communication and ideas of what can happen then. And we wish you the best of the luck in between now and that point.
We'll take it.
I think at this point we can say to expect us within the next 10 day. If you don't hear from us in the next 10 day,
We're probably dead.
we're probably dead.
Arilol will say, well, the wonderful thing about my ability to communicate with certain others is that if they're dead, it doesn't really work. So if you're gone for 5 days or so, I'll send out a little check. And
Feel free to reach out to me specifically. Then
if
I
I
will
don't get
accommodate.
anything back, I'll wish you well.
Okay, cool.
And then they look at you and go, do you have any plans on where you're going, like, right now?
Oh yeah, I thought when we go back to the portal, back to the 6th level.
And it is at that point, I think, that we're going to get into the politicking and the, hey, here's a blessing, and hey, here's where we're going, and hey, here's what's happening, and then the execution of those things. It's Hammer 30th. Matashtai died. Matashtai is now alive. Valena is trapped somewhere, probably within Dalcor, the region of dreams. The party needs to muster their allies, or at least notify their allies of an impending muster, and then maybe figure out how to actually manage to wage a war against House Ofrendar. But that's a whole lot of stuff, and we'll have to see how that all resolves, and I'm assuming many future episodes of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.